Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, Girl Gone Crypto. I have a really awesome guest here today, Brad Kam, the co-founder and head of business development for Unstoppable Domains. So, Brad, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So, just to start out, for those who don't know, I personally I'm really excited about what you guys are doing with Unstoppable Domains, and I'm excited to even learn more today by chatting with you. But just as kind of a starting point, can you tell us what Unstoppable Domains is and what kind of brought you to wanting to found that company or co-found that?
Sure. So Unstoppable Domains is a domain registry on a blockchain. It's not part of the traditional domain name system, so it's similar to a .com but separate. It's an alternate system. So the way the traditional system works is there is a centralized registry with .com, .net, and all the other domain name systems on there. We're building a separate system on the blockchain, and the reason why is because you can use these domains to build censorship-resistant websites. So this is basically the internet that we were promised back there in the 1990s, that it was going to be peer-to-peer, it was going to be free, anybody was going to be able to say what they wanted, and it didn't really turn out that way. And that's why we started the company to try to rebuild the internet in a way that is censorship-resistant.
So I'm kind of curious about that because I feel like I hear a lot of people talk about censorship in social media and on various, like YouTube, sometimes even Twitter, like various places. But censorship on websites isn't something that I feel like I hear about as much. And so I'm just kind of curious, what kind of examples are there of times where people have been censored on their websites?
Yeah, so it's really a bit different in the U.S. than it is in the rest of the world.
Mm.
So in the U.S., there is a little bit of this kind of like crowd pressure where like maybe something really unpopular is happening on a website, and so a bunch of pressure will go on GoDaddy, and then they'll decide to kick it off.
Mm.
But the whole point here is that the domain registrars have the option. They can kick you off because they're your custodian, and it's just like your bank holding your money. In the blockchain domain world, you store your domain just like you would your crypto. So no one else has the option to do that to you. So that's kind of that's how it plays out in the US, but it's actually, there's all kinds of issues that happen around the world. In Spain, when the Catalonian independence movement was creating, organizing and trying to do a poll for independence, the .cat registry, which is being used for many of those websites, was taken down by the Spanish government.
Wow.
The .cat registry was raided, and the CTO is still on trial today for sedition. So the domain name, even in Western Europe, even in democracies, is being used. So there's really two pieces here. There's the domain name, which is an asset on the blockchain, and they're ERC 721 tokens like CryptoKitties or something else like that. So I store those in my Ethereum wallet. And then there's my website content. And my website content would be on a decentralized peer-to-peer network like IPFS, where what's really happening is hundreds of different people are storing and sharing my website. And so the reason why it's censorship resistant is because even if one of them goes down, there's dozens more. So it's just like having multiple copies. It's basically like how BitTorrent works too. So you attach those two together and you get this the censorship resistant website. So on the hosting side, so there's the domain side. Let's give a couple more examples, just so nobody thinks it's just Spain. So .ly is a commonly used domain extension by some startups and some other people like that. So when the Libyan government shifted to being Islamist, they started banning porn websites. And a whole bunch of porn websites started going out around the world that people were just randomly doing .ly because they like the way it sounds. Those websites start going down. In China, you need a license in order to launch a website in the first place. So this type of domain name censorship doesn't happen because they just stop it on you can't even register a domain without and use it without permission. So that's how they solve it. So that's on the domain name side. But then there's also on the web hosting side. So like in America, Amazon Web Services, if they get a court order or whatever, website's going down immediately. Most of those cases would probably be for cases that we would all agree are somebody doing something wrong. But the idea of having this power structure where all these different groups can decide and take you off leads to all kinds of really bad stuff around the world. So in Turkey, they have a law that was recently passed that says that there are 150 words that cannot be posted on any websites. Uh,
Wow.
and all hosting services need to abide by this. One of those words is gay. Another word is naked. So they're very intentionally censoring um, certain minority groups,
Yeah.
censoring certain content, and again, with kind of religious overtones. But there's all different types. There's Muslim political groups in India and their domains or hosting services forcing them down. Uh, this is a global problem, and it's actually most people in the world that are facing this level problem. The social media stuff is the one that gets the
Mhm.
most attention, and that one is really important too. But if you get the domains and the websites back in control of the user, you can also solve the social media problem where you just create different types of social media apps where at the start we already control our information, they don't control it. And when we do that, then yeah, they can filter us out on one app, but they can't take us off completely. That's really what changes when you have a domain name on the blockchain and you have a website on decentralized storage. No one's taking that website down but you. Yes, some people can filter it out, but that's not the same.
No, I love that. And you're right too. Like you're giving all these examples of all these different areas of the world where maybe they're not as insulated as we are in the US of being like, well, I've never had an issue with my website, but just because you personally haven't doesn't mean that you won't in the future, right? Like we've seen this kind of like we're saying, this increasing amount of censorship all across the internet. And so even though web domains in the US haven't been like hugely targeted yet, the option that they can is pretty scary. And so I want to like look under the hood a little bit more and talk a little more about how that works. So you mentioned it's like IPFS, it's kind of like BitTorrent. Are you guys using one of these existing like file storage systems like IPFS, or do you have your own kind of file storage system on the blockchain?
We just have domain names and we use IPFS by default right now, but there's
Okay.
also, we essentially will use any network that, that our users want. The only kind of role we play, the only kind of role that we play that's critical here is that we have a tool to make it easy for you to add your information to your domain. So if you go to unstoppabledomains.com, you can search for a domain name, you can check out, you can pay with credit card or crypto. It's super easy. When you're done, you'll see a bunch of fields. You can copy and paste your Bitcoin address, your Ethereum address, your IPFS hash. You click save, you sign a message and write it to the blockchain. Now it's attached to your domain. And now when I go into a wallet, I can type it in and pay you, or I can go into a browser and I can type it in and see your website.
Got it. And so you guys more recently launched the .crypto domains, but you had the .zil before. Can you explain what kind of the difference is and if they're both things that are kind of currently available, or what is the difference between them?
Yeah, they're both currently available. They're both live. They're actually quite similar, except for they're on different blockchains. So .zil is on Zilliqa blockchain, which
Mm-hmm.
is a high transaction throughput blockchain, and then .crypto is on the Ethereum blockchain, which is the blockchain that has most of the integrations and support from apps. Zil was first, .crypto was second. They both work for any currency, meaning you can attach your Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, all of your crypto addresses to either of these domain name systems, and they both also work for websites.
Got it. I know I was pretty excited to get girlgone.crypto just because it fits my name so well. But one question I do have on that, because I saw that you guys just launched the browser extension as well. So I want to talk about SEO a little bit. Like, what is the searchability of these websites in Google? Are they able to rank and show up in search results? How does that browser plugin fit into that? Can you just kind of walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so there are kind of two barriers to adoption, I think, from the website perspective. And I think the first is having browsers support it. And browsers are going to need to read the blockchain instead of reading the DNS system, which is different.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need to be convinced, at least right now, on a case by case basis. But they are also, in general, at least the browser community, I would say broadly, is in general looking at this stuff, looking at Ethereum, looking at IPFS, and pretty excited about it because this is also very similar to the way that uh, they thought they were building the internet back in the 90s. When you think about Mozilla and what their goals were,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was much more similar to this than kind of the reality of the internet today. Uh, so that's one barrier, and then the other barrier are search engines. But from a search engine perspective, I think it's more about, is there enough websites that anyone cares? Because there's so many websites on the other system that, as soon as there's, a decent amount of websites, then yeah, right now there's, specialty search engines that are being built for this. There's also some of the smaller kind of alternative search engines that are looking closely at it and have been following Ethereum and IPFS for a while. And then also the block explorers are doing a lot of indexing of IPFS content just as part of their, part of their day-to-day business. So we're like in this collection phase. One other thing we've been really focused on, so we've had a little over 200,000 domain registrations so far,
Congrats.
just in the past year. Thanks. But we realized that we needed to make it super easy in order to get the number of websites up. So what we've been doing recently is, we launched templates to make it easy for you to launch a website as a non-technical user on IPFS with just a few clicks. So it's kind of like a little, decentralized Wix kind of thing. So that's part of it. That's been making it really easy for people to build websites. But once we start seeing those numbers go up more, that's when we'll start seeing more, search engines go and do the indexing type stuff.
So you talked about kind of like the making it more usable and like easy for people to sign up and use their crypto domain. So let's talk nuts and bolts for a second kind of about that. Like walk us through the actual process. If someone's like, okay, great, I want to go buy my domain and then I want to build that website. What does the process look like?
So you go to unstoppabledomains.com. There's a search bar right there. So type in a domain. 6 characters or longer are available currently. So type in a domain that you want. Oftentimes it's your name, nickname, some username, company name, future business idea, something like that. You can check out, you can pay in crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, several other currencies. You can also pay with a credit card or PayPal. So it works. I mean, unstoppabledomains.com is our registrar, kind of like a GoDaddy, except for we don't hold the domain for you, you hold it. And so you buy. After you buy, you'll see these little fields, asking you to add your crypto addresses. That's just copy and paste and click. And then when it's time to build a website, there's a little button that says, choose a template, and you can click and you'll see like a few different types that'll look, it's pretty early stages, but, it'll look kind of like you'd expect it to look for, for a website builder. And then you can, add your picture, add your text, customize it a little bit. Click save. You'll be copy and pasting your IPFS hash, signing a message with your private key, writing it to the blockchain. You don't need to actually know any of that. All you need to do is click the save button, just to explain so everybody sees, understands what it, how it works. And then boom, that website's on IPFS. Your domain name is in your wallet, and people can see it.
That's awesome. Now, I want to dig into IPFS just a little bit more for those who aren't familiar. You touched on it earlier, like in the way that it kind of transmits information between all these computers, but can you just give us a little IPFS 101 for those who don't really understand it?
Yeah. So what's happening is there are a whole bunch of different nodes, clients that are storing files on their local machine and then offering to share them to others, and then others can download it. But what's kind of cool about the IPFS idea is that it's really focused on having redundancy. Like, you have the copy of your website on multiple different machines controlled by multiple different people. And when you have that, then it's kind of like your website doesn't go down. So it's really functioning similar to like Amazon Web Services would for your website. It's just that it's like as if it was Amazon Web Services, but there's like dozens of Amazon Web Services companies that are all storing the same stuff for you.
Got it. So one thing I'm kind of curious about, because I feel like in the like early days of the web and domains, there was a lot of domain arbitrage where people were trying to grab, popular handles or things that they thought would be really popular. Have you been seeing that? Have you been seeing people kind of do like land grabs on these crypto domains, or not so much yet?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, the first thing people think about is they think about, what it was like in the early internet and what were the things that people were focused on. I don't know that it's going to be exactly the same this time,
Yeah.
but, people are probably very focused on terms that are finance related, that are crypto
Mm.
related. Um, Even the traditional .com, I would say, world is focused on crypto domain names right now, just because so many crypto companies are so valuable. But we're definitely seeing a lot of that behavior, and yeah, people just curious to figure out what are the things that people are going to be searching on the
Mm.
decentralized web in the future, because ultimately, your domain name is like your real estate, and so the more traffic, the more useful it was to you. So people are trying to predict that, and I think it's a hard thing to predict, but people are very focused on the finance and crypto stuff.
So, one thing that I think a lot of people, especially when they're outside of the blockchain space, their brain kind of goes to when they hear decentralized is like, oh, well, doesn't that mean that like criminal activity can happen if no one's censoring? I was just kind of curious your thoughts on that. Are you worried about like illegal websites being built? Is that a concern for you guys or not really?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, it's always bad when bad people do bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should all do our best to prevent that. I think that the problem with the existing systems that are not self-custody is that the tools themselves decide, and
Mm.
therefore they put some person or group in charge, and that person or group is corrupted or corruptible or inconsistent over time, and that's what violates free speech. And so, if we have this system that is self custody and peer to peer, then what happens is we don't have any control over the base layer, but we absolutely can have opinions about what happens inside of our apps if we're an app creator.
Mm.
So, a browser can say, like, these websites have been associated with phishing or stealing money or whatever. And so, like, we won't show these. Or
Mm.
maybe at a bare minimum, it'll just be a warning saying, hey, you should be cautious of this one.
Mm.
But there's not going to be one version anymore. What happens right now, if you have these points of failure where somebody can just come in and say, and it's mostly, it's foreign governments or sometimes companies that have a lot of control or whatever, can almost arbitrarily go in and take it down. Then you don't get to play out the ethical battle over free speech. You don't
Right.
get to find where the line is, and there's not necessarily going to be one line. One browser is going to say, hey, like, this is our line for free speech, like, this is not okay, and another's going to say, it should be somewhere different. So we'll have dozens or hundreds of versions of this, and I think that's a lot healthier of a system. But things that we all agree are bad are going to be filtered out by most people, and that will be good for all of us, I would assume. So
Awesome. Well, I am really impressed actually by the team that you guys have developed, by the amount of people you have on your team. I was looking at your website and I have to say my favorite team member might be Ollie, the unstoppable dog.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so,
Ollie is a fan favorite. He's 100% positive energy.
so tell us a little bit about the team and what you guys have kind of been up to and maybe even just like roadmap stuff, like what's coming up next for Unstoppable.
Yeah, yeah. So we are heavily focused. So Crypto was launched in December, end of November, early December. We were very focused on kind of making everything work for the
Mm.
next month, just trying to make all the transactions and claiming smooth, and then we've started moving on to website tools. So we've got kind of two things that we're doing. We're doing integrations with wallets and browsers, and then we're doing tools to make it easy to build websites. So we just launched a template marketplace. We just launched so that allows you to pick from a whole bunch of different templates to launch websites. We just launched the browser extension, which you saw. We just launched a browser. It's just a demo browser to kind
Oh,
of show
wow.
people how it works. But it's a full browser. It's similar to Chrome, and it has an IPFS node inside of it. And why this matters is, if I go to your future website at girlgone.crypto, which we should definitely get up for you. I I have a button that I can press and I can store and share it to the network. So your
Mm.
fans can participate in the decentralization. And the more popular your website gets, the more decentralized it gets, the less likely it's going down. So it's like a
Mm.
supercharger for the most important content. And it basically shows how it's so easy for us to all participate in this, that it means that when we have websites that really need to get out, they just won't go down. Um, so let's see what else is in the those are
That's
really the
quite a
big.
bit.
Yeah, so we want you to be able to build websites easily, and we want you to be able to view websites easily. And then, domains already work inside of 15 different wallets: Trust Wallet, My Ether Wallet. You can use Ambo, which is from my crypto, Coinomi, Atomic Wallet, and several
Nice.
more coming soon.
Awesome. Well, Brad, it has been so great to have you on and just to chat more about Unstoppable Domains. I've been seeing you guys everywhere online. I know a lot of people are very excited about what you guys are building. And so I hope this interview has been helpful for those watching that were curious and wanted to learn more. So, Brad, where can people connect with you and Unstoppable Domains online?
Yeah, so I would go to our Telegram chat, which is just at Unstoppable Domains. That's 24 hour, 7 days a week. There's somebody in there talking about the future decentralized web, and then you can also go to the website unstoppabledomains.com and check us out.